Ralph Nader's not the only candidate the Green Party has on its presidential ticket. There's also Winona LaDuke, a woman, a Native American, and Adrian's on the convention floor right now speaking with her. Adrian?
Thanks very much, Mary. I'm here with Winona LaDuke, who is the vice presidential nominee for the Green Party. Winona, good to have you.
Thank you.
Maybe you could just tell us, what are the main reasons you would like to be the vice president of the Green Party?
Well, I should be vice president of the country. It's my long-term goal. Because I believe that public policy in this country should not be written for the richest people, it should be written for the poorest people in this country. And because I believe that the long-term health of this country is contingent upon us actually taking care of our environment, so that we have clean water to drink, clean air to breathe, and we can sustain ourselves over the long haul.
And what is it, you are a Native American, what is it do you think you bring as a Native American to this position as a vice presidential candidate?
I'm one of those people who lives in one of the poorest counties in the state of Minnesota, and I represent a community that is the poorest community in the country. And because of that, I've seen pretty much the back end of American public policy, whether it is welfare reform, whether it is an energy policy which takes from one community to support another community, whether it is the taking of vast areas of lands and the further impoverishing of a community. So what I see is what is wrong, and I also see the potential of what could be right. And it is within that, that hope of coming from what has been taken to what could be that I think I bring to this party.
And what is your role going to be in the campaign?
I'm going to try to keep pace with Ralph as best as I can. As you know, I have a 4-month-old child, and so I'm a little bit slower, but in my own way, I'm fast.
Now, what kind of physical shape is Ralph in? I mean, he's 66, he's working 18 hours a day.
He is remarkable. I'm not exactly sure how he does it, but we should all hope that when we are 66, we should be as fit as he.
Now, one of the other questions I have as I looked at some of the delegates and everything, I mean, there are a lot of white people that are Greens. Where are the people of color? Where are a lot of women as delegates in the Green Party?
I'll be honest, as I haven't seen the gender makeup of all of the Green Party, but I know that we have a commitment to feminism and to gender equity, or to these kinds of issues. This party is starting. And it is not a party that has moved into all the arenas in which we need to move, and we haven't talked to all the people in all the communities that we know, but if you do look around here, there are a number of people of color. I would ask the same questions of the Democrats or of the Republicans, because those are parties which are not actually even trying to articulate a way to meet the needs of those communities, whether they are African American or whether they are Native American or whether they are Hispanic communities. And those are parties that take those people for granted. This party does not take those communities for granted. This party hopes through our work to help move the agenda of all of those communities.
Now, if you have one critical issue that you would like to see implemented if the Green Party wins, if Ralph Nader wins the presidency, what is the most important issue to you?
Geez, that is a hard question. That one sounds like my mother,
I'm a little taller.
You are. I guess if I was going to say an all-encompassing issue, which represents perhaps all the issues, is this idea of an amendment to the Constitution in which common property is protected, called the Seventh Generation Amendment. In that, when we make a decision today, we should consider the impact upon the seventh generation from now. And in doing so, we would, in fact, consider not only not allowing the pilfering of our public lands and our waters by private corporations and devastating of our ecosystems by those private corporations, but we would also, for instance, invest in our future, whether that is our children or whether that is all that is around us, to ensure that our future generations are cared for.
And what is your background working with the Green Party? How did you get involved with the Green Party?
I have, I'm a few years younger than Ralph, but I've spent 20 years doing community organizing, mostly on environmental issues, Native issues, and women's issues. I'm an economist by training. I work and live on the White Earth Reservation, and I'm a writer. I have always supported the goals of the Green Party since it began to come to my attention in this country, and I support its goals in terms of its worldwide work to reform electoral politics.
What will the Green Party bring to Native Americans, to the reservations?
The issues that I talk about vis-a-vis Native people are, for instance, this set of environmental issues that are absolutely critical to Native people. This issue of a changing and transforming of the federal budget from one which is focused on giving a third of our money to the military, which if you or I, amass this great amount of weapons in our house against an imaginary enemy and did not either feed our children, did not have our children have health care, and put our old people in institutions, we would be considered insane. But yet that is what we've done with our federal budget. In my work, what I talk about is reappropriating that federal budget from the neediest in this country, including Indian people, are the people that actually receive full public services, actually receive economic justice, so that we are not asking for charity, we're asking for justice. That we talk about reparations in our community, which is something which is not a good word in this America, but it is a word about how you reconcile and how you heal this country, whether it is Jewish people, whether it is Japanese Americans, whether it is African Americans, or whether it is Native people. You begin with apologizing. This country the Congress needs to actually issue a formal apology for things like the Wounded Knee Massacre.
Now, my understanding is President Clinton was the first president to visit, second, after Roosevelt. I mean, it had been decades.
After Roosevelt.
I mean, it had been decades before a president had visited a Native American reservation. I mean, if Nader becomes president, how will he involve himself, do you think, in the Native American community?
I think that Ralph will visit a number of reservations. But, what I want to point out is that Indian people have for years gone to the Great White Father in Washington and said, fulfill your treaty obligations. The things that we agreed, you have our land and we have nothing. And they have asked the same question generation after generation to whoever is in office. And it is time for America to deal justly with Native people. I don't know how every single president, I think, has a full headdress, that was given to them by Native people in honor of our part of the treaty obligations, in honor of our respect. But yet we are treated with such disrespect by each administration, one administration after another. So I am sure that Ralph will be the president who spends a quarter of his time in Indian country.
Now, one other question I have. I know some of the other candidates would like you as their vice presidential nominee as well. That's kind of a unique situation at a convention. I mean, Steve Gaskin, another presidential candidate, would like you as vice president. Has there been any fighting over you here? I mean, you're in demand.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered and I'm honored because there are a great number of people with integrity in this party who are committed to these ideals, and I really support this whole movement, but I am honored and committed to Ralph as a presidential candidate.
Winona, thank you very, very much. Thanks for your time here.
Thank you.
Anyway, back up to you, Mary.
Thanks, Adrian. And we're here with Jello Biafra. He is one of the 3 candidates who is here this weekend for the nomination of the Green Party. Jello, how did you get involved in Green Party politics?
Well, I'd registered Green years ago, but they didn't notice that right away. And then I got a surprise phone call in January from the New York State Greens saying that I had been nominated for president at their convention, and they wanted to put me on the primary election ballot along with Ralph Nader and Stephen Gaskin and Joel Cavell, who later withdrew.
Wait, so this was the New York Green Party put you on the ballot in the first place?
And then word got out on the internet, and I started popping up in other states, people from supporters in caucuses and conventions and things like that. And I figured if it helped spread knowledge of the Green Party and to people who were down with what I was saying, my music and my spoken word albums, etc., and would draw them in, why not leave it out there?
So tell us how your music and your spoken word albums fit with the Green Party message.
I'd say they dovetail pretty well as far as the same interest in ecological wisdom, as they put it, instead of pollution for profit at everybody else's expense, and strong advocates of human rights and civil rights and proper budgeting for education and a proper balance between budgeting for education and budgeting for prisons, shall we say.
Well, that certainly does seem to be one of the strong points or the important points in the Green Party platform. Let's talk about something like foreign policy. When you read the Green Party platform, how does that fit in with your perspective on foreign policy?
I have not read the platform that came out yesterday yet, and I'm not sure what they're saying about foreign policy.
What is your perspective on it, though?
I think our military budget could be diverted to peacetime uses, not just a peace dividend, rebuilding our infrastructure here, getting everybody a decent school, a decent home, and free health care, but why not extend that to the rest of the world, too? The best way to keep so many other countries from hating us so much is not to abuse them so much. And right now, we're just using our military to back up the same old run-amok corporations trying to turn other countries into slave plantations for gluttonous American consumers. That should be reversed immediately.
Is there anything about the Green Party platform that stands out to you that really hits you and says, yes, this is why, even though I was drafted as a candidate, this is why I could actually run and, you know, if it happened, if I won, be a Green Party president in the White House?
It's hard to pinpoint a particular one because I'm down with most of it, and have been articulating a lot of the same views for over 2 decades now. I guess that's why the people in New York nominated me in the first place, was because what I was saying dovetailed with what the Green Party was saying. They have the green key values, sort of 10 points to make as a preamble to the platform, and I'm down with those.
Well, there's one thing that people have been talking about here at the convention, which is a sort of cap on wealth. You know, that people be taxed on a maximum amount of wealth. I think what I've read is 100% of any wealth over 10 times the minimum wage would be taxed. What do you think about that, and what is your perspective on taxes?
The first thing I ever got from the California Green Party was a bulletin that mentioned a maximum wage, and I almost jumped for joy. I thought it was such a wonderful idea. And I never heard their formula for it until just now, but I wanted to promote the idea of maximum wage, so I suggested capping it at 6 figures, and then it's payback time. I mean, after all, what causes more crime and damage to this country and the planet? Drug addiction or wealth addiction? And we have to combat wealth addiction by putting these people into rehab. I mean, the whole infrastructure supporting both Bush and Gore are people whose sole interest is making more money for the sake of making more money, regardless of who else it screws or whether it poisons us.
Now you're here this weekend, and it's pretty clear that Ralph Nader will get the nomination from the Green Party. Why do you continue in your candidacy?
Because it's not, my candidacy is not so much to oppose Ralph Nader as to augment Ralph Nader. They recognized that I was drawing in younger people who didn't know who Mr. Nader was or who the Green Party was, and that was the value of leaving my name out there up to the convention, is as part of the youth movement, you know, another piece of the puzzle, if you will. I mean, what the Green Party is the electoral arm of the same anti-corporate organizing and energy that we saw on the streets of Seattle and in Washington, D.C. against the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Direct action I'm down with, and electoral action I'm down with.
So it's basically your opportunity to help Nader spread his message. I want to say thank you for joining us today and being here, and good luck with your candidacy. Actually, we have to go. So now
Not
back
to spread Nader's message, but inspire more people to do it locally and start taking over state legislatures, city councils. Imagine if the Greens have a swing vote in Congress, how much could be accomplished just with that.
Well, there you go. Back to you, Adrian, down on the floor.
Thanks, Mary. I'm sitting here with David Brower, who, of course, is the grandfather of the environmental movement in this country. He's the first executive director of the Sierra Club, also founded the League of Conservation Voters and Friends of the Earth. And Mr. Brower, very nice to have you here.
I just want to add I'm a grandson, not a grandfather.
Okay.
And I wasn't born until 1912, and the environmental movement started a long time before that.
I stand corrected. I guess what I'd just like to ask you is, you're sitting here watching all this. Have you really come a long way? I mean, the environmental movement in this country, where would you put it at?
I agree with Tom Hayden, who says all he's done in his career is slow the rate at which things get worse. And that's all I've done. And that's all too many of our institutions have done. And it's time we shaped up. That the word from Morris Strong, who headed our two principal environmental conferences in the world, says that unless we shape up, we only have 30 years to go. Now, that's all right with me because I'm almost 88, but that's not enough for you. I think we better shape up and stop doing what we're doing to the planet. Give the Earth a break.
So you think the environmental movement really has just slowed the steady deterioration, but has not halted it by any means at this point?
Absolutely, that's correct. And I was sorry to get that news, but then when I thought about it, that's true. And we can do much better than that, and we can, and I'm just wanting to get us going.
As you look over decades of environmental work that you have done personally, what is your greatest, what is the achievement you're most proud of?
Oh, I guess I like to have stopped a lot of dams that we didn't need. I haven't stopped quite enough, but I started doing that in 1938, and I'm still at it. I'm very anxious to stop China and the Three Gorges Dam now. And we're working hard on Glen Canyon, and we want to drain Lake Powell because it's not needed. It's a menace. But so these are the kinds of things that you can do. And then the most important of all is, and I'm going to write a book by that title, Growth, Unsafe at Any Speed. I'll borrow the title from Ralph Nader.
Speaking of Mr. Nader, do you feel a kinship with him? I mean, you've both been out there on the barricades for years, fighting for what you believe in. Is there something you see in him that you maybe recognize in yourself?
He's just a man who's arrived at the right time. We certainly need him now, and I've been listening to him here, but I've known him for years. And I just like the things that he's done. And these are what we necessarily need to do if we really care about the planet. And I rather do. I've got the habit.
What do you think will happen in this election? Do you think Nader can get the 5% that he would need to get federal matching funds for the next election?
Yes, I think he can. I think that's going to be fairly easy, but not without a lot of effort. And I'm relying upon a lot of young people who know that something has got to happen if they're going to have hope again.
What would you say to some of the younger people that would be watching this who seem so apolitical these days? I mean, there's a whole group of 18 to 30-year-olds. MTV is their main source of news. What would you say to them? How do you get them back involved in the political world?
Well, I think just point out the possibilities that there's a lot of things that they can do that they don't realize they can do. They felt rather defeated, I think. And the worst threat we've got is hopelessness. And we've been encouraging hopelessness by what the big powers to be around the planet have been doing to the Earth. The Earth can't take it, and I think that the younger people will get that idea, provided the media let them know.
And any final thoughts on what it's going to take to save the planet?
Well, I'll just get back to hope. It's going to take the idea that we've proved that we can restore, that we can crash the Earth. Now let's prove that we can put things back together.
Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for being with us.
Well, thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brower. Anyway, Mary, back to you.
Thanks, Adrian. And now we're here with Kevin McEwan. He's a Green Party member of the Santa Monica City Council, someone who's holding office and putting green values into reality. Now, Kevin, we're hearing a lot this weekend about the philosophy of the Green Party. We're hearing a lot about the platform and sort of how it plays out in concept, but many of us don't really know how it plays out in reality. As a Green Party City Council member, how do you make the green values part of what you do every day?
Keep to your beliefs and add patience. I think that's been the hardest thing, because as an idealist, as an activist, once you get into elected office, you begin to confront that it takes time to make change in a community. Now, I've been very lucky because Santa Monica is a very progressive community, and in truth, I think the history of the Greens is going to be the same as my personal history with the Greens. I was green long before I knew I was green. And I think the city of Santa Monica is learning that it holds green values it didn't know it held until they were articulated by green office holders, Mike Feinstein and myself. I think this country, in the course of this campaign, is going to hear things that resonate with the average person, who is going to say, well, that's just plain common sense. It's attached to what? The Green Party? Well, I'll go for that. I think that's the change that has to be made. As local office holders, we're on the ground. We're getting to make the changes that the philosophy the Green Party holds gets to be translated into action at the local level. And it takes patience.
Well, talk to us a little bit about those realities, the decisions that you've had to make as a locally elected official that have really challenged you as a Green Party member.
Well, certainly one of the Green Party principles has been economic justice. And in Santa Monica, we're faced with a housing situation where the people who created a diverse community are no longer able to afford to live there because market forces are coming in, raising the rents, converting the affordable rental housing into condos, and making it much more difficult to maintain a diverse community. So as a Green, I fit in perfectly with the renters' rights movement at Santa Monica in trying to maintain a diverse stock of affordable housing. And this year in Santa Monica, with Greens on the council and other progressives, we've set aside $25 million to rehabilitate and deed restrict affordable housing so that housing will be there in perpetuity. So we're getting to make a change now that will help people for the next 55 years, because that's how long.
Well, just explain to us how that housing issue actually relates or speaks to the Green Party platform itself.
People deserve to be able to have a decent standard of life and work at a job close to where they live. So what we're trying to do is create a community in Santa Monica where people live close to their work. Los Angeles is infamous for the long travel time between work and home. If we can create mixed-use housing in Santa Monica where the jobs are nearby to the housing, we solve a big part of the transit problem that has plagued Southern California since the sprawl began.
Well, you also in Santa Monica have a living wage ordinance that's also coming up and is being discussed and debated and argued in Santa Monica right now. But one of the things that I'm hearing a lot about the Green Party and third parties in general is that the platform is not really realistic, that it sounds great in concept, but when you try to apply those values to decision-making and lawmaking, it's pretty tough. Do you find yourself challenged in that way at all?
No problem. I'll tell you why on the living wage. And here you hear a lot from the Greens about corporate welfare. Well, in truth, in Santa Monica, we've had a situation where very wealthy hotels have been paying people less than their work is worth. As a result of that, those employees not only lose dignity, they're forced then to collect food stamps and to go to paid medical clinics that are paid for with taxpayer dollars. So indirectly, we are subsidizing those corporations by allowing them to pay less than a living wage. What we're going to do in Santa Monica is make sure that people get paid what their work is worth. And that will equalize a lot of the problems in a society that are really due to the unequal distribution of wealth.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin McEwan is a Santa Monica City Council member and also a member of the Green Party. Now we're going to go back to the convention floor and talk to people about the last in our series of questions. Is the Green Party platform realistic?
Green parties serve in governments all around the world. The Minister of Foreign Affairs in Germany is a member of the Green Party. The Vice Minister of the Environment in 2 different African countries are Green Party members. We have the majority of the City Council in Arcata, California. All around the world, Green parties are showing that they may be idealistic, but they also know how to function in government, and they do a better job in government than the major parties do.
Well, I say, look at me. I'm a city planner in Portland. My feet are very firmly planted on the ground. Most of the people that I work with in this party are tax-paying individuals who own homes, have families, are putting children through school. Take a look at us here.
You can't deny the groundswell of support here at the Green Party convention in Denver. What the party's hoping to do is turn that groundswell of support into votes in November. Now we'll go to Adrian Mar. He's on the floor with some wrap-up comments of his own.
Well, Mary, the Green Party platform here at the Green Convention has been extraordinarily ambitious. Universal health care, daycare for every kid in the nation, campaign finance reform, the list goes on and on. Some may say it's overly idealistic, but the one realistic hope that the Greens have is to get 5% of the national vote in the fall election. If that happens, they will be getting federal matching funds for the next national election in 2004, and that could make the Green Party a permanent fixture of the American national political scene. Anyway, back to you, Mary.
Thanks, Adrian. You know, another indication of the support the Green Party is getting is from unions. The Green Party is hoping that the alliance it's building with unions will help give them the boost they need in the November election. Thanks for joining us here in Adelphia for the Green Party convention in Denver.